Your brain is changing right now. Not in some distant future. Right this moment, as you sit here watching. Alzheimer's disease does not begin the day you forget a name or misplace your keys. It begins silently, invisibly, up to 20 years before a single symptom appears. In May 2025, the FDA approved the very first blood test for Alzheimer's disease. A simple blood draw can now detect the toxic protein changes in your brain years before your memory shows any sign of trouble. Most people have never heard of it. Most doctors haven't started offering it yet. But after today, you will know it exists, and you will know how to ask for it. In the next 14 minutes, I'm going to show you 9 early warning signs that scientists now know can appear 2 decades before a diagnosis. Some will shock you. And one of them, sign number 7, is something almost no doctor asks about at a standard checkup. Neurologists agree it may be the most critical signal of all. I'll tell you exactly what it is, and what you can do about it, before this video ends. Here's the number that should make you stop everything. 1 in 9 Americans over 65 already has Alzheimer's disease. That's more than 7 million people. And according to the Alzheimer's Association, the majority of them showed warning signs that went unrecognized for years. Your warning signs may be whispering to you right now. Let's make sure you hear them. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever walked into a room, stopped, and stood there completely blank, unable to remember why you came in? Have you been mid-sentence and suddenly lost a word? Not a technical term. A simple, everyday word you've known your entire life. Have you watched someone you love repeat the same story twice in a single conversation and quietly wondered, is this normal aging? Or is this something I should be worried about? That quiet fear, the one most people never say out loud, is exactly why this video exists. As someone who has spent years studying the latest neuroscience research on brain aging and cognitive decline, I want to give you something today that most people never get. Not panic, not vague reassurance. Real, science-backed clarity about what early Alzheimer's actually looks like, long before any doctor would ever diagnose it. Here is what the research now confirms, and it will reframe everything you thought you knew. Amyloid plaques, the toxic protein deposits that are the biological signature of Alzheimer's disease, begin accumulating in the brain 10 to 20 years before any cognitive symptoms become clinically obvious. By the time a standard memory test catches a problem, the damage is already significant. That long, invisible window between the first silent changes and the first diagnosis is exactly where these 9 warning signs live. And that window is your opportunity. Stay with me until the very end, because I'm going to tell you about the new FDA-approved blood test that detects Alzheimer's brain changes before any symptom appears. And sign number 7, the one I mentioned, is the most overlooked warning on this entire list. The one you are most likely to dismiss as something else. I need you not to do that. According to the Alzheimer's Association, more than 50% of dementia cases are undiagnosed for years. Not because the signs weren't there, because no one knew what to look for. After this video, you will. Let's go through all 9. Pay close attention, and be honest with yourself as you listen. The first warning sign is a very specific type of memory failure, and the specificity matters enormously. This is not about forgetting things from your distant past. This is about forgetting things that just happened. Your hippocampus, your brain's memory recording center, is typically the very first region that Alzheimer's pathology damages. And it attacks a precise type of memory first, episodic memory. The ability to recall recent conversations, recent events, what you did yesterday afternoon. You meet a friend for coffee. An hour later, you cannot recall what you talked about. Not because you weren't paying attention, but because the recording simply didn't stick. Or you watch an entire television episode and the next morning, it is completely gone. Not foggy. Gone. Normal aging slows your memory retrieval. Early Alzheimer's erases the recording entirely. That distinction is everything. If this sounds familiar, even occasionally, pay close attention to how often it happens. Frequency is the signal. This one has a clinical name, prospective memory failure, and it is one of the least discussed early warning signs of Alzheimer's disease. NIH research confirms that prospective memory, remembering to do the things you fully intended to do, declines in the preclinical stage of Alzheimer's, often years before other cognitive changes become obvious. You walk from the kitchen to the bedroom with a clear purpose, and the moment you arrive, the intention has completely vanished. Not because you got distracted, because the thought itself dissolved. Or you meant to call your doctor, thought about it 3 separate times throughout the day, and, fifth, simply never did. Not procrastination. Disappearance. Here is what makes this sign particularly important. Researchers have found that the protein p-tau217, which drives exactly this type of memory failure, is detectable in the blood years before these lapses become serious. A 2025 study from Mass General Brigham confirmed that elevated p-tau217 levels predict Alzheimer's symptom onset 3 to 4 years in advance. You can catch this before the forgetting gets worse. That is the most important thing I can tell you today. The third warning sign is word-finding difficulty. In the early stages, it is remarkably easy to rationalize away, and that is exactly the danger. Language is processed in the temporal lobe, one of the first brain regions affected by Alzheimer's-related changes. As amyloid and tau proteins begin accumulating, the neural connections between concepts and their words start to silently break down. You're in the middle of a story, and suddenly, a completely ordinary word won't come. Not a medical term, not a technical phrase. A word you have used thousands of times. The thing in the kitchen, the machine that makes and you have to describe the object because you cannot name it. We all have this occasionally, but if it is happening with increasing frequency, with everyday words, and if it is new for you, that warrants serious attention. Pay attention to the trend, not just the moment. Sign 4 is spatial and navigational confusion. In environments you know perfectly well, the entorhinal cortex, your brain's internal GPS system, is among the earliest regions to accumulate Alzheimer's pathology. When it begins to malfunction, familiar routes and familiar spaces can suddenly feel uncertain in a way that has no logical explanation. You have driven to the grocery store hundreds of times, but on one particular day, just for a moment, you weren't sure which turn to take. Or you're walking in your own neighborhood and for a brief, unsettling flash, you felt genuinely lost. Not distracted, lost. Neurologists call this one of the forgotten early signs of Alzheimer's. It rarely appears on published lists. But when it appears in someone who was previously spatially confident and sharp, doctors take it very seriously. And so should you. Think of your entorhinal cortex as your brain's built-in navigation system. Alzheimer's doesn't just steal memories. It dismantles your map of the world. And it starts there. Sign 5 is the one that surprises families the most, and the one most commonly misdiagnosed as something else entirely. Research published by the NIH confirms that personality and behavioral changes can precede cognitive decline by years in preclinical Alzheimer's disease. The frontal lobe, which governs emotional regulation, empathy, and personality consistency, begins to be affected earlier than most people have been told. Someone who was warm, engaged, and intellectually curious becomes flat, disinterested. Not depressed exactly, just absent. The light behind their eyes has quietly dimmed. Or a patient, mild-tempered person begins having moments of irritability, completely out of character. Small things trigger outsized reactions. Families say it most plainly. He just doesn't seem like himself anymore. That sentence, that quiet, grieving observation, is more medically meaningful than most people know. If someone close to you is changing in their fundamental personality, not just having a difficult few weeks, but in a sustained, fundamental way, that observation deserves a conversation with their doctor. We are halfway through these 9 signs, and I need you to stay. Sign number 7 is the one I told you about at the very beginning of this video. Almost no doctor screens for it routinely. Most people who experience it assume it's stress, or aging, or too much screen time. New research now links it directly to Alzheimer's pathology in the brain. We are 2 signs away. Stay with me. Sign 6. A growing struggle to track complex conversations, storylines, or multi-step sequences, things that never challenged you before. Working memory, your brain's ability to hold and process multiple pieces of information simultaneously, is impaired in the earliest stages of Alzheimer's. Before memory loss becomes clinically obvious, this functional change shows up as reduced capacity to manage complexity. You're watching a film and lose the plot thread. A friend is telling a story and you find yourself unable to follow the sequence of events. You reread the same paragraph 3 times, and still cannot quite hold what it said. Your mind isn't wandering, it's genuinely struggling to process. People blame distraction, stress, screen fatigue. But if this is new, consistent, and connected to tasks that never challenged you before, it is a signal worth taking seriously. Sign 7. This is the one I promised you. Multiple peer-reviewed studies now confirm that changes in REM sleep, the deep, dreaming phase, may be among the earliest detectable markers of Alzheimer's risk. Here is the mechanism, and it is critical. During REM sleep, your brain activates what scientists call the glymphatic system, a biological waste removal network that flushes toxic amyloid beta protein from your neural tissue every single night. This is your brain cleaning itself. It only runs during deep sleep, and when REM is consistently disrupted, that cleaning cycle fails. The amyloid accumulates. Faster. Every single night, you don't get deep sleep. A 2025 Mayo Clinic study found that people with chronic insomnia had a 40% higher risk of developing dementia than those who slept soundly. Not because they were tired, because their brains weren't being cleaned. You wake frequently through the night. Your dreams are vivid and disturbing. You feel unrested despite hours in bed. Or your partner tells you something that should stop you cold, that you physically act out your dreams while sleeping, moving your arms, talking aloud, even getting up. This is called REM sleep behavior disorder, and it has a documented, clinically established link to neurodegeneration. Most doctors will advise better sleep hygiene and leave it there. Almost none will connect your disrupted REM sleep to your cognitive future. Now you know the connection. And this is one of the most modifiable risk factors on this entire list. You can address it tonight. Sign 8. A subtle but measurable decline in judgment quality, especially around financial decisions and evaluating consequences. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning, evaluating consequences, and sound decision-making, is impaired in early Alzheimer's. Research from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that financial vulnerability, the tendency to make progressively poorer monetary decisions, is detectable up to 6 years before a formal Alzheimer's diagnosis. Falling for a phone scam that would never have worked before, making purchases that seem impulsive or out of character, paying the same bill twice, or the opposite, leaving critical bills entirely forgotten. Difficulty comparing basic options when making routine choices. Families often discover this sign only after financial damage has already occurred. Recognizing it early and putting protective structures in place can be both financially and cognitively protective. Sign 9, and perhaps the most heartbreaking to witness from the outside. As cognitive reserve decreases in early Alzheimer's, mentally demanding tasks require disproportionately more effort and produce increasing frustration and anxiety. The brain, sensing this strain, instinctively begins to avoid these activities. This is not laziness. This is a protective, involuntary response to perceived cognitive overwhelm. Someone who spent decades completing the daily crossword quietly stops. Someone who always managed household finances hands them off without explanation. Too stressful now. A sharp, intellectually engaged person begins steering conversations away from complex topics they once led. From the outside, it looks like lost interest, lost motivation, maybe depression. But this withdrawal is often the brain protecting itself from the awareness of its own struggle, however unspoken, however unacknowledged. And that awareness deserves your compassion and your action. 9 warning signs. Some subtle, some hiding in plain sight for years. And now the question that actually changes everything. What do you do? Because here is what the science now shows, and this is the part most people never reach. There is far more you can do than you have ever been told. The window is open. The tools to act are available right now. Before your action plan, I promised you the blood test. Here it is. In May 2025, the FDA approved the first clinical blood test for Alzheimer's disease, called Lumipulse. It measures the ratio of p-tau217 to beta amyloid in your bloodstream. A 2026 Harvard Gazette report confirmed this test detects the earliest signals of Alzheimer before any cognitive symptoms appear. You do not need a brain scan. You do not need to wait for symptoms to escalate. If you are 40 or older and you recognized any of these 9 signs, in yourself or in someone you love, ask your doctor directly for for a p-tau217 test. Write it down, p-tau217. That single conversation could change the entire trajectory of your brain health. Your brain's glymphatic cleaning system is most active during deep REM sleep. This is your brain's only toxic waste removal system, and it only runs when you sleep deeply. Without it, amyloid builds. Every night, here is exactly what to do. Stop all alcohol at least 3 hours before bedtime. Even one drink suppresses REM measurably. Set a consistent sleep and wake time every day, including weekends. Keep your bedroom temperature below 68 degrees. And if your partner reports any unusual movements, talking, or dream acting while you sleep, consult a sleep specialist immediately. REM sleep behavior disorder is a clinically documented early predictor of neurodegeneration. Within 4 to 6 weeks of consistent, protected sleep, research consistently shows measurable improvements in working memory, processing speed, and next-day mental clarity. This is not a fitness goal. This is a brain health prescription. A 2025 study published in Nature Medicine by Mass General Brigham found that even moderate, daily walking slows the accumulation of tau proteins in the brain, even in people who already have elevated amyloid levels. Your brain physically clears faster when you move. The lymphatic drainage accelerates. The neuroinflammation decreases. The hippocampus, your memory center, actually grows new cells in response to aerobic movement. A 25-minute walk. That is the entry dose. That is the minimum effective dose. Start today, not next Monday. Today. A 2025 study in the Journal of Prevention of Alzheimer disease found that each daily serving of ultra-processed food raises Alzheimer risk by 13%. Your first meal sets your blood sugar trajectory for the entire day, and chronic blood sugar spikes cause direct, cumulative damage to the hippocampus over years. This week, replace one ultra-processed breakfast item with something real. Berries, walnuts, oats, Greek yogurt. One swap, 1 week. That is all you need to start. Progress, not perfection. This one surprises people every single time. The 2024 Lancet Commission, the most authoritative dementia research body in the world, confirmed that untreated hearing loss is the single largest modifiable risk factor for dementia from midlife. The single largest, not second, first, and in 2024, they added untreated vision loss as a newly confirmed dementia risk factor. If you have been putting off glasses, putting off a hearing test, putting off hearing aids, your brain has been quietly paying that price. Schedule those appointments this week. The research on this is unambiguous. If this kind of science-backed, actionable content is what you've been looking for, please subscribe right now. I release new brain health research every single week, and every video has one purpose: to give you real tools to protect your brain for decades to come. Click subscribe. Ring the bell. I know what some of you are thinking right now. Is it too late for me? I'm already 60. I already recognize some of these signs. It is not too late. The same 2024 Lancet Commission that mapped every one of these risk factors concluded that 45% of all dementia cases are preventable or delayable. Not with medication you can't access. Not with genetics you cannot change. With choices, the same choices I just outlined, that are available to you right now, today. Your brain maintains neuroplasticity, the ability to build new connections and strengthen existing pathways well into your 70s. The ceiling of protection is not behind you. It is in front of you, and the direction is forward. Let me leave you with 3 things to carry with you. 1. Alzheimer's begins up to 20 years before any diagnosis, and 9 specific warning signs can appear in that invisible window. You now know all 9. 2. Your daily choices, sleep, movement, food, hearing, vision, are either building your brain or quietly eroding it. Every single day is a vote for one direction or the other. 3. A blood test now exists, FDA-approved, available today, that can detect Alzheimer's risk before any symptom appears. Ask for it by name, p-tau217. Write it down before you close this video. Here is the truth I want to leave you with. Every morning you wake up is a morning your brain can begin reinforcing, recovering, and protecting itself. Neuroscience doesn't give you a reset button, but it gives you a direction, and that direction is forward, every single day, if you choose to move in it. Share this video with someone you love, not to frighten them, because this information, the 9 signs, the blood test, the window that is still open, could be the difference between catching something early and missing the chance entirely. That is a gift worth giving. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it right now. Click subscribe and hit the bell. Every week on this channel, I bring you the most current brain health research, delivered clearly, honestly, and with one purpose: to give you the tools to protect the brain you have.